Hi. Hey, thank you. Life before emotional intelligence was so tough, and I battled depression, low self-esteem, inferiority complex, and identity crisis.
It's a long journey full of different emotions. Obviously my self-awareness was this, but of course I didn't even know that it was this it took, but I thought I knew it all at the time.
The major challenge that I faced before I met emotions doctor is a problem of, or a challenge of identity.
I didn't know how to identify my emotions. I did not know how to express my emotions. I didn't know how to refine my emotions. And because of that, I was very hurt at the fact that over 30 years of my life had gone by and I had just lived without owning that one most important part of my life. And that is the summary of what my life was prior to my introduction to what emotional intelligence is.
When you see a well-dressed adult ready to engage in a fight, or a male adult who thinks parenting means helping his wife, or humans who have reduced womanhood to motherhood, or souls who mock single women and women without kids for not being a picture of culture or perceived reality, these ingredients are flavors of a lack of emotional intelligence.
In 2007, I transited into visual disability due to glaucoma. In that time, of course, life as I thought it would be was totally different. I did not have any idea of what my future could look like.
I had been in a very, very bad marriage, an abusive marriage for about 13 years. There was physical abuse. There was a lot of emotional abuse. There was a lot of verbal, a lot of words were like thrown at me constantly in front of my children. My self-esteem was zero, and then there was physical. I got beaten up quite a number of times, and it was happening constantly. I even, in front of my children. And at the point I felt that I was going to die if I continued to remain there. It was hard to walk.
I was a guy, who had a very terrible, traumatized childhood. I was abused physically, abused mentally, and I definitely abused by my aunt, of course, abused sexually by my aunt, who was asked to stay with me and all that, and take good care of me and all that. So I had a very terrible childhood. I had an issue with my dad, pains all through and all that. And I remember so well that I would always go to the balcony of our house to cry my eyes out, and in as much as I cried, I would always ask myself questions and all the stuff.
As a young child growing up, I was abused by an uncle. I found it so difficult to talk to my parents about it because I wasn't sure they would trust my words. Growing up in a home where mentioning words like penis, vagina, and sex was like a sin. So how do I express myself? So I was bottling up a lot of things. Bottling up all those things actually took a toll on my mental health. I was really hurt, pained, I was disturbed. There was a time I was talking with my abuser, and the person is a family, so I would
definitely still see this person. So he said, oh, all the intimate touches were just because I wanted to know you better. So I was like, you want to know me better and then you have to get to my private part. That was really so disrespectful.
I don't know why I'm crying because I've talked about it so many times and I don't normally cry, but I don't know. It was hard. This was 13 years. I had 4 children and there was like, good, start from. But I just knew I had to leave because I couldn't take the abuse any longer. So and part of what made me make up my mind in the process of like, okay, where have I gone wrong? What am I doing wrong? What's causing all this? I started asking questions, I started researching, and then I found out about narcissism, and I realized that the person I was married to, you know, like had those narcissistic tendencies, and I knew that staying with such a person would not bring any change. I'm a Christian, so it was something I took time to pray about, and I know that God gave me that go ahead to leave, because apart from, okay, everybody says God does not want he hates divorce, but he didn't want me to die in pain. He had so much more for me than just being in a marriage. So I took it to God in prayer, and I made that decision, and I have not had any regret walking away.
Afternoon. I'm doing great. So I could recollect, you know, during that process of healing that I lost my identity. So when we were writing about those people who have hurt you in time past, then I came to that area. Why? Because the most spoken word my dad spoke to me is the word bastard. So at any interval, even when he was happy, he wanted to call me, where is that bastard? Omalieda. So when he said Omalieda, I knew it was me. Omalieda, bossy bayi. Then I would wake up in the night, I would be crying. And he would tell me that when your mother is ready, she will tell you who your real father, who is your real father, that he wasn't the one that gave birth to me. So the day he sent me out of the house, anyway, I'm healed now and I've forgiven him even before he died. It was February 1988. He was a police officer. Then he just came from his base in Abeokuta. We lived in Ibadan. It was during the school hour. I'd already finished my school start then. I wasn't doing anything. Of course, and I failed woefully. What do you expect from someone who couldn't read very well? I was totally barren. So he just came in and threw all my load outside, you know, before the girls, you know, as a teenager now. You have some girls around that you were scoping. So he threw my load around, he announced it, that I'm a bastard, everybody should hear. He told the tenant that I'm a bastard is not my real father. So he now told me that I was lucky that he wasn't with his service pistol. So he came with one stick, batting there. That was what he used to beat me. You know, I was sleeping, I lied on the floor, I was crying, beating me there. He almost threw me off the road. I mean, off the veranda. So when I looked at that, I knew I suffered acceptance. And if someone had suffered acceptance, if you do not, or you have not really gone through a process of healing, you will never have any identity. Because then, even when I'd grown out of him, when I left him, moved to my mom, everywhere I go, I saw myself as a bastard. So even if somebody called somebody a bastard beside me, I assume it was me they were talking to, so that I will always fight anyhow. So that journey really hindered me all through the period I got married, all through the period I raised my children, all through the period I even started the ministry of parenting. Because when I started the ministry of parenting, I was looking for identity. How do I pattern my speaking engagement? How do I pattern my teaching, my lecture? So I was just hopping around. Oh, this one is good. Oh, let me go after this one. Oh, let me go after this one. You know why? Because I've not dealt with the foundation of loss of identity that was imputed in me. So it was when I now met emotions doctor, she made me to understand that in which identity am I even operating? Do I have my own soul?
With the introduction of emotional intelligence, though alien in the beginning, Emotion City embarked on a movement to preserve what it is to be human, knowing fully well that there is a difference between being human and being a human being. The difference lies in compassion and empathy.
My heart is beating, keeps on repeating, I'm waiting for you. My love encloses a plot of roses, and when shall be then our next meeting? 'Cause love, you know, that time is fleeting, time is fleeting, time is fleeting. My heart is beating. Oh, when shall I look at you? The blue of heaven seemed to be deeper blue. And I can swear that God Himself seemed to be looking through. Zoo, 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 zoo.
Before joining emotional doctor and emotional intelligence, I was like unable to regulate my emotions the way I should have been, and I was not knowing myself. But after doing emotional intelligence, I know what I want, what I am capable of, and that is the reason today I followed my passion. Because I was good in singing, and within no time I had a good name on Facebook.
I came to the Emotion City looking for answers. Some of the answers I got was to, be comfortable with myself first and my situation, which is a visually impaired, amazing woman. I found strength, not just for myself, but to also interact appropriately with everyone around me. And since then, with a lot of awareness, embracing my shadows. In fact, that was the first time I even heard and understood that there was a shadow part to me. And then harnessing all of that to bring my best self to the world was what emotional intelligence at Emotion City did for me.
So my foundation I didn't realize my foundation had gone that deep, and I had to, pardon me, let me put my phone on silent so you can get the whole gist. And so that actually made me realize how far I had gone and start to, deal with it. That was one. Two was, so I'm a bit of a talkative, but I'm also shy. And, my husband always used to say I talk in such a way that sounds like I'm putting people down or interrupt and all that, and I used to just think it was him and his ego. Who are the people? So of course one of the assignments was to get the opinion of 5 people closest to you and all 5 of them said it. All 5 of them said it. So I'm a lot more intentional now. And then I realized I really don't listen. I don't listen. So 3 and 4 would be that I don't listen and I'm extremely impatient. and I felt I had all the excuses to be, because I felt I couldn't just tolerate plenty of talk and people just generally talk too much. And but I've learned to listen to people. In fact, I listen so much now that my friends that I talk to now say things like, "Oh, are you there?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm listening." They're not quite used to me being quiet throughout the conversation. And that has really helped me, because I've been able to pick out things I ordinarily would not pick out in conversations.
Emotional intelligence, I'll choose marriage. I've known Mr. Lawa for like 10 years now, and we're friends before we got married. And about a month ago, we had a very, very big issue, and it boiled down to, again, not knowing what to say, not saying what you should say, not understanding what was said, misunderstanding what was said, and failing to asking, what did you mean? And I remember that one of the first few things he used to hold out against me was, "Oh, you're the one who would hold yourself as the more emotionally intelligent person. Why are you acting this way?" I fought against it because I just felt it was being manipulative. And because I was fighting against it, we never could agree or communicate on several issues. But now, after that issue, we are both now committed, honestly, to seeing that in my expressing how I feel, what I say, when I say it, how I say it, which must be productive by the way, he's also going to be a little patient and also extend me some grace. And I'll be honest to say that I'm a lot better than I was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, or even 1 year or 2 years ago. So I know for a certainty that I'm a much better and much healthier person, even in my marriage.
One girl who, against all odds, took it upon herself to create an awareness for emotional intelligence in Nigeria. One girl who has constantly sacrificed time, energy, and resources to train and mentor Nigerians, Africans, and Africans in diaspora daily. One girl who strongly believes she's an African savior and Africans need to save Africa. One girl who is consumed by the passion to preserve what it is to be human. Introducing Oyinkansola Alabi, the Emotions Doctor.
I haven't always been the emotions doctor. My earliest memory will be when I was 10. I remember that I had measles and my mother was very scared. I think maybe she thought I was going to die or something, I don't know. But I'm the last of 4 children. I have 2 brothers and a sister. And I also remember that I'd never seen my father walk fully. So I remember when I was young, my father had stroke a year before I was born. He actually passed on last year, November. So he had stroke for about 39 years. So I never saw my dad whole, like whole. And when I was 10, when I had measles, my mom was very worried. I remember my 10th birthday, I was putting on a purple and white dress and then a purple jacket. And as at that time, I knew that I used to hear that people said, oh, I was intelligent, or people used to be in awe of my knowledge. I'd had double promotion in my primary school and then got into secondary school at 10 and stuff. And when I was 10, I was fascinated by human beings. I was fascinated by love. I questioned hatred. I didn't understand anger, violence, noise. I knew I wanted something different, but I didn't know what it was. So I got into university. I went to secondary school first, Mayflower Secondary School, then got into Olabisi Onabanjo University. And then at Olabisi Onabanjo University, in my year 1, I was ready. It was my major time, or the first major time I'd gone to boarding school to taste freedom. And I'd heard so many things about university and colleges, so I was like, wow, it's my time to manifest. Here I am, and because I was an intelligent child, I think that my mother, who was now the main parent because of my father's illness, just felt I was a good girl, but she didn't know that I had an agenda. I had an agenda to rock the school. I had an agenda to show up, as a girl and be in control. And when I was in year 1, I started by partying. I remember there was a song at that point. It was that time when this Makosa sound came in town, and then there was this song that they used to hire me for to dance, at clubs. Awilo Logomba, Lekpagawo, that's what it's called. And I did a lot of that. I attempted to smoke and drink. I was always coughing. It didn't go down well. So a part of me just felt, no, it's not time to pass on, just respect yourself. And I had that. But while I was busy manifesting, I encountered one person, and it was a turning point for me. So I was in my room with my roommate, and she just slotted in the CD. It was a tape recorder at that time. And then this voice was playing, and the voice was very authoritative, very powerful, very wise and knowledgeable. And then I asked her, I was in year 1, she was in final year. I asked her who the voice was, and she said, oh, it was Bimbo Dukoya. And then she said, oh, she does this and that. And by the time it was holiday time, I went to look for her. And that was the beginning of my journey encountering Bimbo Dukoya, who passed on a couple of years ago. And it was the turning point for me. I also remember that I wrote my first book. I actually have a copy of it here. It is called The Teenage Christian, and it was the first attempt at me being a very responsible teenager and a responsible child. But I was dealing with a handful of adverse childhood experiences. I was dealing with sexual assault that happened when I was younger. I also dealt with a lot of things. The first phase was, I remember when my father passed, it reminded me of 2 things. My father's death was the physical manifestation of an emotional death. What that means is that my father passed when he was 72, but remember that he was ill for about 39 years. So I was never really fathered. So by the time he was passing, it was the final point of, the emotional pain that I'd been dealing with and I'd been battling, and there were 2 phases of that pain. So by the time I was a teenager, the pain definitely was there, and the pain showed up in a lot of ways. It would have been anger, it would have been unhappiness. It had different flavors. Funny enough, I was the pastor all through my college years. So I had power, I had authority, but I didn't have the necessary character to sustain that. So I was well known. I was known for all of the good things I was doing back at school, but I had weaknesses, and some of them were very obvious because I had a pedestal and I was on a platform. After leaving the college, one thing caught my attention, and what caught my attention was the desire to study more. I wanted to know more about people and stuff, and then my journey started. Coaching academy, did courses on therapy, emotional intelligence. The height of it for me was my encounter with emotional intelligence at 6 Seconds. 6 Seconds is the largest emotional intelligence network in the world. So I did my practitioner courses, I did my assessor courses. When I was done, I had my MSc in psychology, then proceeded to Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. When I was done, something jumped out at me after all my tour, doing different courses and stuff, and it was the fact that Africans are different. And beyond the statement Africans are different is Nigerians are very different. It was in Nigeria that it occurred to me that I was a woman. In other countries, I'm not aware of my gender. In Nigeria, it also occurred to me that I'm single. In other countries, I'm not defined by my marital status. When I'm abroad, I'm defined by my color. So when I'm abroad, it's obvious to me that I'm black. But when I'm in Nigeria, 2 things stand out. Before people engage me or encounter, even talk to me, my gender has gone before me, my marital status has gone before me. So before I open my mouth, If I'm not careful, there's a bias. So it was clear that whatever I've learned about emotional intelligence abroad, I needed to infuse cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence, understand the culture of the people that you're talking to so that you'll be able to communicate and convey your messages to them. Yes, we can learn and stand on the shoulders of people abroad, but we must let it taste, let it smell, and let it be perceived the way that they would understand it. Nigerians are different species. We're very different.
With numerous trainings and certifications in therapy and an MSc in psychology, an emotional intelligence certified practitioner, and assessor certification from the prestigious 6 Seconds Network, the largest emotional intelligence network and arguably the first African to attend the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. The Emotions Doctor has trained over 50,000 professionals across 22 countries in 7 years.
You are my God, you are my King, you are my Lord, you are my all, my anchor, my flavor, my stability, my sanity. When I am weak, I lean on you. When I feel scared, I hide in you. When I feel anxious, I call on you. When I feel depressed,
I became a spiritual leader when I was 19. Other people will call that position the role of a pastor. So I needed to counsel and listen to people. I was doing that, but I was quite concerned that everything I had to quote was in the Bible. I like the Bible, I'm a student of the Bible, but I was interested in also talking to people who do not believe in the content of the Bible. So I said to myself, where else can I learn that I can blend science and spirituality? So I embarked on my journey, and the more I embarked on the journey, the more the depth, the hungrier I became. And I started resolving issues. So people will come and say to me, I was abused when I was young. I'm going through domestic violence. I was raped when I was young. I masturbate or watch pornography. So I was dealing with those issues. The more those conversations showed up, the more I knew I needed tools. So I had to position myself like an emotions mechanic, where no matter the issue that you bring to my workshop, I would be able to fix it to the best of my ability. And then the more I fixed it, the more I saw that there were different flavors of people. So it wasn't a one-way cut through everybody. So you will see a man and then there are flavors of men. You will see a woman, there are flavors of women. And then wherever they are from. So as I was relating with some tribes, I saw that I needed tools for other tribes and all of that. Presently, I have clients in 22 countries and then alumni members in 14 countries. And how we gravitated to that is that when they come, 3 things usually happen to them. We help them move from a position of dissatisfaction to satisfaction, meaninglessness to meaning, unhappiness to happiness. That is my responsibility towards them. I remember when one of my instructors at Yale said to us, Mark Brackett, he said, our responsibility is to preserve what it is to be human. That is what gives me joy. That's what makes me happy. You know, that someone encounters me and it is like you're giving beauty for ashes. You are stripping them of their pain, removing their mask. You know, all of the mask that they have, all the see me in a particular way so that you never get to see my vulnerability. And I say to them, I remember the first time I published my porn addiction video, people couldn't understand how a pastor would categorically say, without being asked, that, oh, I used to binge on porn. And I went ahead to explain the causes and effect of that, why I did that, the problem that was solving, because porn was not my problem, porn was the solution.
Welcome. My name is Oyinkansola Alabi. I work as the emotions doctor. It is my pleasure to be having this interesting conversation with you today. So if you have been following me online on all my social media handles, whether Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, I have been talking about the effect of pornography, or better still, my story on porn. You know, my porn addiction, my story, and how I was able to overcome it. So just in case you are interested, in case you are struggling with it, and in case you're interested in putting closure to it, this is what this conversation is about.
I was using porn for something, and presently it has the highest number of views on my YouTube page. So when people see, and I also remember a time when I wrote about how much I didn't like my father. There were quite a handful of things that I thought that we could have done better, or there were some things I thought that I could have experienced as a child, you know, but I remember when he passed, I sat down and I tried to analyze his life. So we had a better relationship before he passed. I analyzed it, and it was one of the reasons why I decided to focus on Africans. We share some level of foundational pain. You know, an average lady shares our spectrum, you know, the spectrum of pain. There's some level of familiarity. If you're single, I know what a single lady in Nigeria, for example, will be facing from her family members, from her friends, from the society. On International Women's Day, one of the young ladies who does personal finance said, you know, at a conference, that when companies want to engage people, that they don't engage her because she's single. And I smiled, because I can't relate how you are putting someone's expertise and their marital status in the same category. Another person said that she was taking off a deal, so she's a photographer, and then apparently she lost her husband. So she said 2 weeks to the event that the lady she was supposed to cover her wedding said to her that she was disengaging. And the lady said the reason why she's disengaging is because she believes in luck, that she heard that she lost her husband, you know, and she doesn't want that kind of spirit at her wedding. Like, she categorically said it. You know, if you also do not have children, there's an agenda for your existence. If you don't have children, you do not have a male child. You know, how a female is celebrated is different. So by virtue of our existence, 2 things are against us if you're not careful. The first is your gender, the second is your marital status. Then you can deal with. Finally, you can't even successfully be an atheist in Nigeria, because the moment you're in a relationship, your in-laws are interested in your religion, who you worship, who you defer to. Once you say that you believe in nothing, there's just a place for you, and then you can't even go to the lane of sexuality. So I am interested in Africans, and everything we do is designed for Africans.
Emotion City was created about 7 years ago under the brand name YouthMax. It was designed to cater for millennials, but the evidence of changed lives attracted professionals and executives to the brand. This impact necessitated a rebranding that became Emotions City, the Center for Emotional Intelligence in Africa.
Before we created the Emotion City, I was running a company called Merchants of Romance. We used to plan surprises, serenade, gift delivery on the horse, surprise gift delivery, car decor, everything. But I noticed that something was missing. Couples wanted to express their love, but something was hindering them. Something was holding them back. I didn't particularly see that level of excitement and romance that I wanted to see as the Merchants of Romance. So I started studying them, I started asking questions. And then I saw that there was something deeper than gift delivery. When couples are experiencing conflict, when they're not even on talking terms, when they are keeping grudges or what you call malice, I saw that the reason why they were not expressive is because they had relational issues. So I said to myself, instead of staying on the surface and giving gifts to people, let's try and see if we can help them enjoy, and experience a better vibe between each other and stuff. So I said, okay, let's go look for tools, and all the tools that we've looked for will be the reason why Emotion City came to play. That beyond giving gifts, let's fix issues, let's establish the causes and effects and help couples be lovers forever.
If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is weak, because there's somewhere we are expected to get strength from. We have a source of strength. The problem is, do we go to the source of strength? How can we get emotional stability in this unstable world? The first is to deliberately own your thoughts. Out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks. Every conversation is from the abundance.
Hi. I'm fine. Thank you so much. Fitness, I do yoga daily and be happy all the time, which I've learned.
How do I want to do that
now? My experience in Emotion City, food, sweet food. They were the ones that inducted me to the Ajishafe rice craze. I'm not messing you. Like, I drive from the island to the mainland just look for food, and I'm a foodie. So I always equate emotional intelligence with food. And what that means to me is they have a place in my heart. Emotional intelligence is home, because where you get good food, always, quite often, is home. And because you're home, you're very relaxed. There are no airs around you. And I love that they're human. The gentleman who served us, my class actually did give him a gift, and that thing continues to stay with me for years, and I'm going to continue to talk about it, because the people who serve us, the people who minister to us, are actually equally humans, and we must actually preach and practice what it is that we've been taught. So food, humanity, and fellowship.
I had a great experience learning at the city. It was subtle but firm. And the emotions doctor is amazing. I like the fact that she's real, raw, vulnerable when she's training you.
I love the fact that she lives what she preaches. I love her personality. I love the way she does things. I love her values. She's always, getting close to you has actually changed my life. In fact, that's one of the things that actually gave birth to my own organization.
I'm laughing. I am really, I'm happy, really. I'm happy, I'm good. I wake up every day and I'm thankful. Look at my life. There are some things I'll look at and be like, is this me? And then sometimes when I talk to people and they come back and say, oh, Christy, I'll be like, did that come from me?
She's training you in a practical way. You're not just learning, you are transforming, you are healing, you're getting better. That really helped me a lot, and I'm like, oh, this woman knows what I'm going through. In fact, I see Emotions Doctor as my mentor. I like to call her my big sister. She doesn't know though, it's a secret.
I love to teach. I am obsessed with soul stripping.
I am good enough. I am good enough. I am great at my job. I am great at my job. I deliver excellence. I deliver excellence. I am dependable. I am dependable. I am dependable. I deliver excellence. I'm no longer a slave to low self-esteem.
Life after emotional intelligence is beautiful. I learned about self-awareness. Not knowing who you are, what you represent, and your core values is a disaster. You will have to live your life battling with self-limiting beliefs. Another thing that I really love about the life after emotional intelligence is the fact that I'm a good communicator now. I can manage healthy relationships with people. I'm big on self-love, self-awareness, self-validation, self-clarity, self-confidence. I am in charge of my thoughts, feelings, and actions. I am aware of who I am, and I love the fact that I'm more confident, happier, and I love me so much.
I have a very large heart. I am a people's person, so I have extended family. Actually, just a number of my extended family. But on the other side, I have friends that have become family. And I realized that I was very quick and easy, to dishing out grace to these people. Or maybe the person didn't think it this way. Or maybe the person thought it this way. Or maybe the person... And when she said that, I think it really started my recalibrating process, especially with my mom. At that point, I wasn't married, but I had been in the relationship. And I remember I'll go home after every session and just do crash course. Whether I would see him or he would be at my place or I was at his place, I would always use him as practice. Like, this is what she said. And that thing stood out. I said, I don't give you as much grace as I'll give any other person. And it changed completely the narrative of our friendship and our relationship. And it changed because I now saw him as a human being. I saw him as a person. I didn't see him outside of his flaws, outside of his inabilities of understanding or knowing what I expected him to know, even when I did not say them. I gave him room to ask me, did you mean this? Can you try to explain to me what you meant by this? I saw that you sent me this message. What did it mean? I gave him room. Prior to that, I would have always expected that, oh, you've known me this long. You should know what I want. You should know what I was saying. You should understand what I was trying to say. And it always created issues.
It was nice to be surrounded by other people on the quest of life also, and to realize I was not alone, and to find that safe community that I keep going back to as an alumni to get answers or get reassurance that I'm on my right journey. Continuous growth, continuous improvement, being able to roll with the punches of life while still being my best self by examining with curiosity why this is like this instead of just reacting was something I learned there. And the most important thing was to be in my power. It's okay to just be.
For me, it has been wonderful. Wonderful that my wife can tell it all. I thought I was a very good husband. But my wife can actually tell the difference now. Not only that, when everything got changed, I found myself, of course, things didn't just change like that. But of course, intentional practice, into what you've learned, actually deepen my peace. I think that's the most important thing for me in the world. That's the most personal value that I have. Deepening my peace. So I think that is what the life called emotional intelligence has done for me. Deepening my peace. And because, my peace has been deepened, I can relate better with people.
I had no idea how art could help my mind. And that coloring exercise has taken me on a different journey where I've been able to deploy art with expressing my emotions. It was just color something, and it was take your time, take a deep breath. Think about yourself in a space, at a time when you're growing up, and then take yourself back there. I legitimately went back to primary school, and it really unearthed the child in me, something I didn't know I had kept away. Yes, it felt like, I had a lot of things all put together, but that exercise just took me back to just have childlike faith again, like Jesus had said. Every single thing that it is that you want to do, every single thing that you hope to achieve, every single thing you want to access, just be a child again. Be a child, write your proposals, be a child, look for that person, ask the questions that you should ask. Stop feeling like you're mature, you are big, you are this. Break it down and, in simple blocks, and just go at it in that same faith as a child and watch your entire life change. My life completely changed after that experience, because now I would ask you questions. I don't care what English you use, how simplistic the words are. I would ask you, is this what you meant by this? Do you mind sharing with me what you thought this was? And it has made my life easy, because I no longer assume something that you come to me very naturally and then will always cause issues. So those are my 2 aha moments. I don't have 4.
Before the emotional intelligence, if you could recall, I did say that I was just picking everything, raw data from the drive that was installed in me, even though I wanted to stop because I wouldn't like the desired outcome, but I didn't know what to do because I wasn't armed with the necessary tools. So the experience after that, I will have the tools that will always make me to filter my thought, filter my action before I say anything out. But guess what? It may be difficult for me to uninstall everything same day, even though the way we speak to our children, you still recollect. You'll always know that once in a while, those things will just come from nowhere. But because of the knowledge of emotional intelligence, you are aware of yourself. That is what we call self-awareness. So you are aware of yourself. So immediately you falter or you say something you're not supposed to say, the sense will always remind you that what is it that you have said. So I come back to my senses and I apologize where necessary. So part of what emotional intelligence has taught me, especially my relationship with emotions doctor, is for lasting and effective greatness in life, you need to pay attention to the details. So greatness is in the detail.
And that is the aim, to raise culturally and emotionally stable professionals who, according to my friend Praise Fowowe, can become African saviors, evangelists, and preachers of the gospel of emotional intelligence.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. Yeah. Thank you.
Emotional stability is a lifelong project. I honestly need to let you know that who you were before the pandemic is different from who you are today. The pandemic has affected us. It has increased our anxiety. We're not even sure of what is going on in the world. The level of uncertainty in the air is a lot. The level of stress that we've experienced in the last 2-3 years, a handful. And it's taking a toll, and it has taken a toll on everyone, from children to parents to marriages to organizations. So it's a project that we must invest ourselves in daily. To be emotionally intelligent in an unstable world is a massive responsibility. It was one of the reasons why I wrote my book last year, The Soul Stripper. Some of the pages spoke about, let me just give you some teaser, spoke about the essence and value of mental health. Your mental health plan for the year, just like you have a financial plan. How much do you invest? Your daily habit tracker, the frustration journal, anger management tools, causes of unhappiness and unhappiness, how to deal with a loss. Grief is part of life. Death is part of life. And then a special love note and what I call the egg and ball principle. To be emotionally stable in this world, you need to pay attention to your thoughts. Oh, your thoughts are very powerful. Your thoughts control your existence. If you get it wrong at the thought level, you will struggle with your actions. You will malfunction, and you will surprise yourself at malfunctioning. So I will say, guard your thoughts the same way you guard your house. You guard it with everything that you can. Your mind is your house. You are the landlord. You have an emotional real estate right there. Who you invite in, who you listen to, who you pay attention to, the voices of distraction or clarity. Just be in charge of your thoughts, especially the thought and what you say to yourself. I usually say to people, try and record your conversations within. When you do, listen to it and ask yourself a question. If somebody had said this to me, or if somebody says this to me, will I think the person cares about me, the person loves me, or the person hates me? When you pay attention to what comes within you, to yourself, then you need to pay attention and say to yourself, I need to get better, I need to do better. Get it right at the thought level. Be in charge of your thoughts. Hold on to your thoughts. Hold your thoughts like you hold your lungs, hold somebody you love, hold everything. In fact, you know that attention that you pay to your sex drive, how obsessed you are. Yeah, be obsessed with your thoughts. And you will have at least 50% power over whatever happens to you at the emotional stability level.
Even with, after my certification, and I've done a lot of training, when I have cause to train a certain age bracket, the first opposition you meet is, you've brought these Oyinbo things to us. What is emotional intelligence? You want us to be behaving. In fact, just last week, one of the men in the class said to me, you want me to start behaving like Oyinbo people? I'm an African. So it's actually, first of all, to disabuse their minds that it has nothing to do with whether you're African or whether you're Oyinbo. Emotions, is for everyone, and you can only do that by just educating and educating and educating.
Local language. We speak too much English. We're in Lagos, I agree, but we speak too much English. We need to talk about emotional intelligence in decentralized ways. We need to speak Pidgin English. We need to speak Hausa. We need to speak Igbo. We need to speak Ibibio. We need to speak Yoruba. We need to go to the ballets in the communities, because these are the largest number of women and men that I get to encounter. People who believe a lot more in the power of their communities, their traditional rulers, their religious heads. We need to speak the languages that these people get. We need to print pamphlets in the languages that we understand. We need to pay skit makers to talk about emotional intelligence in simplistic, everyday Nigerian language. And what it means is we're not speaking, these are the 5 ways emotional intelligence. We are showing them on the road. If you are driving and you get stopped, what should you do? How do you address it? Someone just came from somewhere and bashed the tricycle you're in. How do you address it? Those are the only ways I believe very strongly that the subject and the language and the cause of emotional intelligence will get spread across the board. Now, if a person who is living with disability, for instance, finds herself in a street like that where the ballet is invested and has been taught, it makes my job easier, because when she comes to me, her head is in a different space. A lot of them have really, really low self-esteem. So whether or not you provide them with whatever form of empowerment it is, their journeys, they're still many years behind, because you empower them whatever it is they want to do. They go back to where it is that they live, and their minds are still where their minds were. So until we begin to speak the languages that we know they will get to, and speak to them about self-worth, about how their emotions can actually help them live better qualitative lives. In the disability space, I do not know how else we'll be able to achieve that outside of all the things I have said.
I think emotional intelligence must be inculcated in the early years of a child. That is what because I worked with small children since long time. So there is a great need if we do it in the early years only, I think nation will definitely it'll be a very strong nation, because with the strong children, strong future, strong families. Any nation, that is the foundation of any nation. So I think emotional intelligence, every school must have emotional intelligence as a part of their curriculum.
This is the moment emotional intelligence is actually needed in our world today. Especially looking at the COVID, what COVID has done to a lot of us, to a lot of people out there. The social life, the community. A lot of people are suffering. People dying of food, but beyond the food thing is the fact that all these things are actually playing a big part in our mental state. And so if we can actually work on ourselves, even as agents or people who preach this life called emotional intelligence, then we can bring more people.
I have this saying that I like a lot, that from the abundance of what I feel is what I share with people. The best way to prioritize emotional intelligence is to live what we preach. Let it begin with me. I am intentional about honing my essence. That's one for me. So when I hone my essence, I'm not just talking about emotional intelligence. I am showing you what emotional intelligence is. I can manage myself well. I can be empathable with other people. I can manage relationships. Another thing is the fact that I am committed to helping people move from mental clutter to clarity. This is where I was. I was mentally cluttered. That's why I was going through pain. And to prioritize emotional intelligence in Africa, I've made it a duty to help individuals, equip them with self-aware tools so they can be productive at work and at home. I think we can prioritize emotional intelligence that way. It all begins with us.
No matter the background, your pain, your adverse childhood experience, whatever you have gone through. Whatever you have gone through. Grief, domestic violence, separation, rape, trauma. Maybe you were even adopted. Maybe you felt that you didn't belong to your family. Maybe you had some level of pain and it hasn't left you. Wherever you are in life, wherever you are in life, no matter where you have been, emotional intelligence is that bridge to your self-awareness. It is that bridge to your identity. Emotional intelligence is the answer and the solution your soul has been seeking. Emotional intelligence is that peace, is that joy, is that ingredient that will make you play a bigger game in life. Emotional intelligence changed my life. Oh, the retired nuisance that lived in motion for 18 years. That's 4 PhDs and 2 master's degree in madness. And I am sitting here today. Emotional intelligence is waiting for you. I can't wait to host you.